So Arsenal lose 2-1 at Manchester City this evening. A sickening late goal from Matheus Nunes, handing City a boost in their hopes of finishing in the top 5 this season. For Villa, yeah, it's a blow. I mean, it's a psychological blow to lose so late. Anyone can lose at Manchester City in the season. And what struck with me, actually, obviously coming out of Unai Emery's press conference, and one of the things that stuck with me straight away was how he reflected on the season as a whole, not completely, not particularly comprehensively, of course, after that, but mentioning that he doesn't know if the points that Villa lost early in the season, they're going to make them up. And well, yeah, Villa have left themselves with, I'm not going to say too much to do, because they could still finish in the Champions League this season, but by my reckoning, they're probably going to have to win their last 4 league games now. And then you are hoping, of course, for slip-ups from your competition as well. So yeah, a real difficult one, because Villa came here and it felt like a real opportunity to do the double over City for the first time in, goodness me, something ridiculous like 60 years for the first time in the league. But no, it wasn't to be the case. Quickly going back to what I just said there about Emery, Villa, of course, have been on such a fantastic run of form since they brought in their winter recruits. But you're looking at drop points elsewhere, and you already know that if Villa don't get in the top 5, when you look back to Ipswich dropping 4 points against them across the course of the season, that might be your answer, full stop. But then, Man United at home losing 2-0 to Wolves, other results elsewhere, West Ham, that Emerson goal late on, I could go on and on. But those feelings of deflation at the end of the season, if Villa don't get there, yeah, that's what you'll be looking back on. Not games like this in terms of losing to Man City away. However, Villa losing this game, it really shouldn't have happened. I don't think Villa are at the point now where they come to a place like this and feel like they can't win. It was the opposite feelings, and really it was more, well, can Villa win 6 in a row for the first time in the Premier League era? I think that was their opportunity today. At 1-1 late on, again, you thought, well, it's not a win, it's not the perfect result, and a point will have to do. And you're hoping for teams to slip up elsewhere, and City haven't gained ground on you, so you can still finish above them if you get more points than they do in the last 4 games of the season. But when Nunes sticks it in at the back post, again, sick enough, that's all you can say. There's points in the season that I always look back on and think, like, in all the different campaigns, Premier League campaigns, Championship campaigns, every fan's the same, and there's moments that you really feel low in. Last season, I'm thinking Man United away at Old Trafford, there'll be other points I can't think of the top of my head right now, but points where you just sink in your seat. Man United at home as well, McTominay crashing a header in at the back post, I think it was, at Villa Park, and those, you don't forget them. Tonight feels like this isn't gonna go away anytime soon, this sort of feeling. But as I say, Villa, how do you put it, I just go back to what I've just said then, if they don't get to the Champions League, you can't look at this night and say, well, that's not why they did it. Yeah, like possibly if they miss out on goal difference, this point would have taken them there. But it's the other games, it's the consistency that they've had across the course of the season. No one deserves to be in the Champions League if you're not consistent enough. It's unlikely ever that a team gets in the Champions League by being, kind of 9th place, 8th place, that sort of position, and then all of a sudden going on a 10-match winning run. That's very unlikely to happen ever. Villa, that's what they would have had to have done. And they can still do it and put up a really good run of form. They've won, 10 of the last 11? So if they win the last 4, it'll be 14 of 16 after losing tonight. I mean, you've got FA Cup games in there as well, of course, but you go on trying to say the form that they've had to go on to get to this point now has been really good and impressive. And I said at the start of the season the Europa League wouldn't be a bad campaign at all, considering what happened to other clubs when they go into the Champions League. Villa are here to stay. They're here to compete for the Champions League season after season, and that is success to a point. It's another thing doing it. And yeah, again, Emery in the press conference said that we're trying to build that sort of mentality of coming to places like Man City and elsewhere and winning. He said that he wouldn't have been satisfied with a point when Villa were drawing, and before the match he said he wouldn't be satisfied with the point. Villa came here to win, and they've lost ground on City. They're 4 points behind them now with a worse goal difference. For me, that looks like an almighty task to overturn that. Newcastle, Nottingham Forest, other sides, Chelsea, of course. Well, that's it actually, the 3 teams plus City. They can all gain ground on Villa now. What I was looking at before the game was, well, how can Villa on the final day have it in their hands, essentially? For me, they would have had to have beaten City tonight. Now they've lost, it feels like an almighty task to be going to Old Trafford and thinking, okay, well, if we win here, we're fine. Maybe they'll still be in a position where if they beat Man United, they'll be okay and they can get in. But I don't think that will happen without, I don't know, City losing at Fulham, without Chelsea beating Nottingham Forest. And Chelsea might not have anything to play for at that point if the results go as we'd like them to. So yeah, really difficult to kind of navigate what happens from here. No, this isn't the best walk and talk. I'm not even walking around that much. I think the key thing is from here, the Villa have to take stock of how far they've come in the last literally like few weeks, couple of months. Had some amazing results, played really good football. Tonight wasn't one of those nights. They played to win, and they played to a specific game plan, and it was working, you'd say, for a fair bit. But I do think in the second half they were quite passive. City, their domination was too much. I think Villa had like maybe half a chance. Well, they had a chance when Rodgers played Rashford through at an angle. Probably should have taken it first time to get around the keeper, and at an angle, side netting. The other side netting, Marlon came on. Emery said that was kind of Villa's way of, we can win this game from here. Marlon, come on, do the business. He had one little opening, didn't he, when he cuts onto his right side and goes to cross. You're thinking, can he shift it and then push it across goal like he so often has and find the bottom corner? But it wasn't quite on for him, or so he didn't think it was anyway. And it came to nothing in the end. So and City obviously score the winner. So real blow for Villa's top 5 hopes, but they're still in the game. But it's all about picking themselves back up now, because they've got an FA Cup semi-final to go after on Saturday, which is absolutely huge. If Villa end this season with silverware and don't get the Champions League, that's still a magnificent season for me. Silverware, Villa haven't done this in decades, and you have to start winning at some stage. We were asked in our Q&A the other day, Champions League or FA Cup, as if you can't do both. But for the sake of it, for the sake of the answer, FA Cup for me. You have to win. You have to start winning at some stage. How often? When is the point where, like last season, Champions League or Conference League or whatever, win a trophy? That's what starts an era of winning silverware, and other clubs will do that. And Newcastle have done it this season. Albeit, it's a Carabao Cup. It's not probably on kind of the least of the priorities as such, but it's silverware nonetheless, and it's something that Villa have to bank. So Saturday is absolutely huge. You'd like to think if we can get through that, an FA Cup final, fresh optimism, beat Fulham at home, and then you've got 2 games left of the league campaign before the final day. Again, I always look before the final day, because whatever happens on the final day, Villa have to win the game, so it's almost pointless talking about it. Win at Man United, that's a must. But where will they be before that? If it's a situation where they're locked on points, because the goal difference is obviously going to keep them out of being above those sides, then who knows? You're looking at teams dropping points. Again, Chelsea play Forest. City, they are away against Fulham, but I expect City to win the next 3 games. Anyway, Saints, Bournemouth and Wolves. I mean, they're not easy. Southampton's easy. Wolves are on a good run of form. They play them at home, I think. So, expect them to win. But nonetheless, potentially a banana skin. And then Bournemouth at home again, potentially a banana skin. So, who knows? But even if they drop points in those 2, Villa could still be behind them anyway. So it's going to be hard to catch City from here, really hard. Newcastle, Brighton away, Arsenal away. You need them to not win either of those. Probably to get a point from one of them. And see what they do in the other matches that they have. Ipswich at home, you'd expect them to win. It just feels like a big ask from me. It really does. Villa's goal difference as well. You you're kind of paying the price for inconsistency early this season. And that's why I don't think, tonight, it feels devastating, heartbreaking to concede so late on. But once the kind of dust settles, again, you can't. I don't think anyone expects Champions League football halfway through this season to go. And we said at the back then as well on podcasts and written work, the average points totals that Villa are going to have to hit to get top 5. It was an obscene amount of points from where they were, an incredible run of form that to go on, and they did for the most part up until now go on that run. But continuing it maybe is just that step too far. And again, I'm not going to be kind of overly critical because I think it's a very fine line between doing something quite remarkable in winning all of those games, getting Champions League, to then dropping short, and then it's disaster, and I feel I can't get the Champions League in successive seasons, but they're so close, and it feels like it's a waste of a whatever. For me, that's not the case. Really isn't. It's all about growth, and for me, growth this season was competing very well in the Champions League, and we absolutely did. Got to the quarter-finals, could have even got to the semis if a few of the chances that we made against PSG went in, and they probably should have. And also getting Europe again, and Villa are going to be in Europe next season. I'm very confident of that. Europa League, hopefully, this should be in the Europa League competition that Emery's won 4 times. And you're looking at one thinking, next season they can compete in that, they can go after the Champions League again. So all is not lost at all in the process. I think this is exactly the kind of progression that Villa are expecting, and as we know, Villa haven't put it in the process to continually qualify for the Champions League. That's always the goal, but they haven't rested on that in terms of, we have to hit this, we have to get this £100 million and then another £100 million again to boost finances. That isn't the point. Of course, it's a massive advantage and a bonus, and they want to get it more often than not, but they haven't factored that into their thinking, the Champions League or bust. That's absolutely not the case. We'll see where Villa go from here. Saturday, again, huge game. It's really important that Villa pick themselves up now. Hopefully they can, and they will. Season is far from over. So much to look forward to still. And again, if Villa win the next 4 games in the league, which they absolutely can, we'll see where it takes them. Who knows what's going to happen? Maybe some of those teams will start to show some jitters as well. Villa have lost against Manchester City, the champions, who haven't been great this season considering where they are, but I think, where are they now? Are they 3rd? Still a fantastic side, and you're away from home. As I say, the damage, if Villa don't get the Champions League this season, was done earlier in the campaign, not necessarily tonight.